I told myself it was just a short escape, a little time for me to feel alive again. My husband, Daniel, was a good man, but lately, our marriage had been nothing more than routine. Silent dinners, tired mornings, and empty words. When an old flame, Ryan, reached out and promised me excitement, I gave in. I booked a secret trip with him, pretending to my husband that I was going away with some friends. To make sure there were no interruptions, I blocked Daniel's number before boarding the plane. The trip was everything I thought I wanted. Lavish dinners, laughter, and stolen kisses that made me feel young again. With Ryan, I forgot my responsibilities, my vows, and the man waiting back at home. Every night I convinced myself that this was harmless, that when I came back, I'd slip into my normal life, and Daniel would never know. I believed I was clever enough to hide it. But in quiet moments, guilt knocked on my chest. I ignored it by silencing my phone, avoiding even the thought of checking in with my husband. I didn't want to see his messages, his calls, his concern. For 1 week, I lived in a fantasy, while Daniel had no idea where I was or why his wife had vanished without a word. When the trip ended, I felt a strange mix of dread and relief. On the plane back home, I unblocked Daniel's number, expecting to see a flood of missed calls and worried messages. But there was nothing. My stomach tightened, but I told myself maybe he was just giving me space. Maybe he'd scold me later for being unreachable. I walked into our house with a forced smile, ready to pretend everything was normal. But something was off. The place was too quiet. His shoes weren't by the door, his jacket wasn't on the chair, and the scent of his cologne was missing. On the kitchen counter, I found a letter with my name written in his familiar handwriting. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. "Emily," it began, "I don't know where you went or why you shut me out, but your silence told me everything I needed to know. A husband should never have to beg for a place in his wife's life." I waited, I worried, and I realized, I deserve more than being blocked out of your world. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. I won't wait for explanations anymore. Goodbye. The words cut deeper than any confrontation could have. My chest burned, my knees went weak, and I collapsed into a chair. I wanted to call him, to scream that it wasn't what he thought, but I knew it was exactly what he thought. My betrayal had written its truth louder than any defense I could make. Days turned into weeks, and there was no sign of Daniel. He didn't answer my calls, my messages, or the letters I mailed to his parents' house. It was as though he had erased me from his life completely, leaving me to sit in the silence of the home we once shared. I had traded loyalty for temporary excitement, and the cost was permanent. Ryan tried to contact me afterward, but I ignored him. Suddenly, the thrill I once chased felt disgusting. He wasn't a part of my future, and he never had been. All I wanted now was Daniel back, but the more time passed, the clearer it became that he wasn't coming. He had finally chosen himself over me. I remembered the little things I used to take for granted. How Daniel always made sure my car had gas, how he left coffee ready in the morning, how he called me home whenever I felt lost. Now those small acts of love replayed in my mind like punishments. I had wanted excitement, but I had destroyed the stability that truly mattered. My friends noticed the change in me. They asked why I looked pale, why my wedding ring was gone. I couldn't admit the truth. I simply said Daniel and I had grown apart. In reality, I had shattered something unbreakable, and he had left before I could beg for forgiveness. Months later, I received divorce papers. They were straightforward, without anger, without bitterness, just finality. He didn't want revenge, he didn't even want to fight. He simply wanted freedom from me. My signature felt like the last nail sealing the coffin of the life we once had. Sometimes at night, I still pick up my phone and stare at his contact, wondering if he ever thinks of me. But I know I'll never hear his voice again, never see his smile, never feel his quiet love. My choice on that trip didn't just break my marriage. It erased the man who once promised forever. In the end, I learned that love isn't always about excitement or passion. It's about loyalty, respect, and the quiet comfort of trust. I lost Daniel because I forgot that. And though the world goes on, my heart remains haunted by the memory of a husband I blocked out, only to realize too late that he had blocked me out forever.